everyone. And before I start to introduce the Professor Sethi, and I would like to, give our very warm welcome to Professor Sethi. And let me briefly introduce Tunghai University to you. Tunghai University is the second university in Taiwan and the first private university. And it was founded by American church, Christian church. And so that's why we won a very large campus, as you may see. And now we have many programs, and the IE program, especially for the industrial engineering program, is the oldest program in Taiwan. And so we are very honored to have Professor Sethi as an international distinguished scholar in operations management. And very thankful through Professor Liu in Central University, and also Professor Chen, the Dean of Hongkou Technology University. And through their introduction, so we have a chance to invite Professor Sethi to be with us. So how about let's give our hands to Professor Sethi and welcome.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. And I think this may be the second time I came to Taichung. The first time I came only because Julian, I told Julian I wanted to go to Sun Moon Lake. So he brought me to Taichung, and so I went to Sun Moon Lake. I did not come to the campus. Today I walked to the campus in the rain, and the campus is very beautiful. The trees are absolutely gorgeous. I also let me thank Julian and Professor Liu and the Dean and my friend Winifred. Without that, I don't think many things are possible. She's the eyes and ears of my trip in Taiwan. Although I come to Taiwan maybe 10 times in my life, this is the first time to come to Taichung. And talk about the Christian universities, I think I went to the first university I visited in Taiwan was the Pusan Catholic University. So that one was the first one I visited, and then I visited several others over the years. And so Professor Liu wanted me to give a talk about my personal journey in academia, and I had no slides for that, so I gave a 2-hour talk there. But I'm told here that many of the people here are professors, and they would like me to talk about something that I did for my university, and I have the slides for that because I gave this talk in India as a keynote speech in December. This is about how we build the operations management group or area at my university. And this particular talk has already been published in production operations management, so the paper is available, but the slides are more detailed than the paper, and so I will go over this particular slides, and maybe after that I will go into other things that you would want to talk to me about. So this is the campus of UTD. It wasn't there when I moved there, but it's changed quite a bit. When I went to UTD had 7,000 students, and my business school had 35 faculty members. And now UTD has over 25,000 students. And my faculty, my business school has over 150 faculty members, from 35 to 150. It's quite a lot. Okay? So let me go to here. UT Dallas created a ranking of business schools. That ranking of business schools is based on top 24 journals in in business area, okay? Finance, marketing, operations management. And that ranking is based on publications by the faculty members of the business schools who publish in these journals. And the rank is based on the number of papers that they get published. And if a faculty member, if there's a paper with 3 authors and one of the faculty member is from that school, then you get 1/3 credit. If there are 2 people, then you get 2/3 credit. So that's how the ranking is based. And so that's how the business school ranking. Every year, my dean gives the first 100 ranks of the business school. And then there is an interactive ranking, because you can select the journals and then rank yourself based on those journals. So operations management journals are 5 journals that we are there in this ranking, and these are management science, operations research, production operations management, Armstrong, and journal of operations management. These are 5 journals, and if you want to rank the operations management group, you will select these 5 journals and re-rank everything. So those are the 2 ranks that I will talk about in this particular thing. Then what happened, I think you will see, is not short of a miracle. And when I arrived there in 1997 from University of Toronto, there was no way we could figure out that this would happen. But it happened. And now we can go back to see why and how it happened. And so I will give you the strategy that we used that accomplished what we accomplished. And then what were the various factors that led to such a growth. And finally, anecdotes are there to exemplify some of these factors. These anecdotes are not in the journal article. The journal article is not necessary to name people and stuff. So it's a 7-page, 8-page article, but what I give you is a little more, okay? Hopefully it will not be boring, but if it's boring, please let me know and I can switch to something else. And I will conclude. And then I will switch to other things if there's time. So how did it all begin? Our dean is Hasan Pirkul, and he arrived in our school in 1996. I think our school had, I wasn't there, it had several tries to find deans. I know at least 2 people who interviewed there as deans, and those are big people in our field. And somehow they did not accept it for whatever reason. Finally, they had to find somebody, and they found this man, Hasan Pirkul. He was a professor at Ohio State University, no experience with the deanship at all. He was just a professor of ISOR, a PhD from the University of Rochester. And they asked him if he wants to be a dean. And he said he will be the dean provided he gets some money for the school to build the program. He didn't negotiate the salary. He take whatever they give it to him, and he negotiated some money for the school. And then he arrived in 1996. He took 6 months or a year to figure out what he wants to do. And then he decided to hire a few people. He decided to hire 3 senior people. One of them was me. Okay. I do want to mention a little bit about it because I was a professor at the University of Toronto. I was a chair professor. I had a corner office. I had a great city to live in. And I had no reason to move. I don't move. I stayed in Toronto for 25 years. And I grew from assistant professor to associate to chair professor and everything all the way. I also founded a PhD program at the University of Toronto because it wasn't there when I moved there. So I had some experience, but no reason to move. So a couple of people from the University of Texas, Dallas, cornered me in a conference in Atlanta in 1997. And they said, we would like you to move. I said, no, I have no reason to move. But they said, okay, come for a seminar. So I went for the seminar. And the dean talked to me about it. And finally, I said, no, I like my city, Toronto. But finally, he was persuasive enough. And then he brought my family again to try to convince them to move me. Finally, after 6 or 8 months of thinking about it and talking to him, he said to me one time, he said, we want you to come here to build the school. You have written a lot of papers. This is your opportunity to build the school. I said, this sounds like a good idea. And so maybe that was one of the factors. There were others, and I moved, okay? I moved to Texas, and I found there was no PhD program. So I thought they want me to develop the program, not build from scratch, but anyway, it wasn't there. So immediately, I started a PhD program. And it was difficult to get good students in the beginning. Nobody knew us. We had only one, I was the only operations management faculty. There was 2 other faculty there in operations research. There was one guy in information system, and there was just a skeleton group of people. It was basically, it was, so to speak, a party school. All evening programs, people from outside teaching. There was no coherence of any kind. There was no building of the school. It was just different rooms and stuff. So it was really a situation that I walked in. But I said, okay, I'm here. The climate is better than Toronto. It's not that cold. And the salary was better than Toronto. And the opportunities were better in the sense that in Toronto, when I was there, the retirement age was 65. And I would probably get up to that age very soon, maybe 10 years. And so it was a good idea to also move. And in the United States, there's no retirement age, okay? And I moved there in 1997, and I'm already 80-year-old, and I have no reason to retire, okay? So that's a good thing. Now, here's a business school. This is based on 24 journals, okay? So if you look at it, UT Dallas, it's a 5-year, okay? 1990, 2003, 2009, 2000, it's a 5-year base ranking. You see UT Dallas in 1990, 94, or no, 1991, 95, or whatever it was, ranked 65. Okay? If you look at orange line, these are, by the way, the ranks as it moves. And you can see here, by this time, last year was 2023 when I write this article, and so the data is up to 2023. You can see UT Dallas Business School, based on publication in 24 journals, is number 2. Is this number 2 in the world? Not just number 2 in the United States. And you can see the other schools. New York Stern, NYU Stern is like here. You can sort of see Chicago Booth, which is the gray line. Okay? You can see INSEAD, which is, so I told you worlds will be outside. Harvard Business School. UT Dallas Jindal is orange line. MIT Sloan, which is this line. You see Stanford Business School and white. So you can see these are the comparison schools. And the other university that moved quite far is went from 37 to, for example, whatever number that is, 9 or 10. That was INSEAD. And these guys sort of bunched around here. They were always the top school, and they will remain the top school. These are legacy schools, MIT, Stanford. There's no way to compete with them in the largest sense of the word. But at least in research, we are there. Okay, that is a good thing. And our PhD program developed. So as you can see, starting with no program, very few students. Some of them we had to leave. We had to ask them to leave because they didn't do very well. But now we take 5 students in the operations management every year. And even that they take 5 to 6 years, we have about 20 students in the system. And operations management faculty used to be nothing. Now we have 24 tenure track faculty members. And we are hiring 2 this year. We already had one and one more to hire when I get back. And we have about 16 non-tenure track people who do a lot of teaching. So this allows other people to do a lot of research. So more about that later. So this is the business school ranking. And it is also, I wanted to rank like what is way ahead of other schools. This is the ranking based on I believe Financial Times. And just a second. No, this is the Financial Times. That one is a ranking in terms of papers, and this is the. But since people can sometimes say, oh, okay, UTD ranking is very partial, biased, is that. So I did put Financial Times ranking, and Financial Times ranking also, if you think the orange line is still going from about 15 all the way to 5. So it is not that. All I'm saying is that even with the Financial Times ranking, which is based on 50 journals, we are still doing quite well. Then comes to OM. If you take those 5 journals in OM, you can see that before I arrived in 1997, there was a ranking that was about 150. This graph doesn't have that. I was 150 ranking the business school. And then there were 3 people who arrived at the time, 3 senior people, me and 2 others, and even their papers alone during 1997 brought us from 150 to 77. And then we moved all the way to number 1. So while the business school we were number 2, in OM we are number 1. And I think in some sense OM is pushing the business school to get higher number. And the reason I say it is this. This is the rank, but if you look at what is the rank based on, here's what is the rank based on. So this is the score, the number of papers weighted by the authorship. The score, the UT Dallas went from here, 0.9, all the way to 80.33. You can see now, the other schools, you see now, this is one bunch, this is another bunch, there are three clusters here. And if you go back to there, how did I go back? Yeah, if you go back to there, you see basically we are all bunched up, right? But if you go to the number of papers, we are far ahead of other schools. And that tells you that we are pushing the rank of the business school as well. Because if you look at it, these guys are like around 60, we are like 80.33, but in terms of publication. And I like to say it, although my dean doesn't want me to say it, I like to say that if we go to sleep for 1 year, we will still be number 1 next year. So that's kind of tell you what has happened since 1996 to now. It is not easily possible to do this, but it happened. Okay, so I'm just saying, we were all surprising now that it happened, and it is what it is. Okay. Okay, I'm not going to talk about these guys. So let's get to the strategy. So what did we do? It may be a lesson for the deans to see what they can do. Maybe geographical and other issues and other financial issues may be different in different schools, but hopefully some of these factors are useful. Okay, not every factor is available everywhere, but this is what it is. So the first thing we did is we said, okay, there is no hope in hell that we can compete on the MBA program with the likes of Harvard and Stanford and Wang. There's just no way. So it's impossible. So what we could do is build a research reputation. And what do you do for research reputation? You hire the top research guys. You give them a good salary, you give them a good life, and you give them a good opportunity, and you can start doing research. So and once you get the research reputation, hopefully it will then go to our reputation in a business school and business community, and our MBA program will become more. And it has. Our MBA program is not bad anymore. I'm not giving you that ranking because I never taught an MBA course in the last 25 years. Okay? And I also didn't teach an MBA course in Toronto for the last 20 years. So for last 40 years, I haven't taught any MBA course. All PhD courses, that's all. So I don't want to give you anything about MBA here. You can go to the school website to find out. But I'm basically only going to do the research. So we start hiring people. And how do you hire people without a PhD program? You cannot hire good research people without a PhD program. So we decided we're going to start an OM doctoral program. And again, recruiting good PhD students is difficult, so we need a critical mass for PhD level courses. And how do you get a critical mass? There's so little faculty member, and there are only so many PhD students. How do you launch courses so that there will be at least 5 people taking that course? It's not easy, right? You have to do something. So we met, a PhD committee met. I was a member of the PhD committee. And Frank Bass, everybody probably knows, at least Julian knows who Frank Bass is. Frank Bass is an immortal guy in marketing, known by the very Bass model of marketing. And Frank Bass was the chair of this committee. And we decided that all the PhD students in every area has to take 5 core courses. Because there's no way to build a critical mass for one area. But we had a finance PhD program before. We had a marketing PhD program before. Frank Bass has graduated a number of marketing students. One of them became a dean at Northwestern, I think with Jane. And so there was a program of some sort. So we decided we take 5 core courses, and those core courses have to be taken by every PhD student. That is one way to build the critical mass, because you have these courses. And then we decided to have what is called a secondary core, because we need specialization as well. So we decided another core courses in which, let's say there were 5 or 6 secondary core courses, you can choose 3 out of these 6. That way marketing people get these marketing, OM people get these OM, so there was that specialization going on. So this was one of the ways we decided to do a PhD program and courses. And then, how do we hire? Well, in school, need to hire people. And so in the beginning, now I'm focusing now on operations management, although I was in the committee for hiring faculty in other areas, because I have done research in marketing and finance and economics. So the dean relied on me a lot in terms of to try to find out who we hire in other areas. But let me just focus on my area. And in my area, in the beginning, we needed to hire, so I approached my connections, my former student maybe, my former postdoc, and see if they can be good. So in the beginning, we hired those we could. But as we become more and more well known, we can hire people from everywhere. So this is the trajectory of hiring. In fact, we are so successful in hiring that last year we had 2 people. We gave them tenure after 3 years because they were incredibly good. Each one of them had at least a dozen papers in top journals already 3 years after they joined us. Both were Wang, one was Wang and one is Wang. And it turns out Wang is so common that we have about 5 Wangs in our faculty. And one of our professors, who is a little bit of a humorous guy, And he called one guy Wang, another Wanger, another Wangist. So this is his way of saying, anyway, so that's kind of anecdotes. So we were eventually very successful in hiring. And then another problem happened. Everybody we hired says, what is the teaching load? Our teaching load was 4. Everywhere we were competing, their teaching load is 3. So all of a sudden, our dean and we decided we changed the 4 to 3. 2 things happened. First, it allows us to hire people and tell them we are competing with courses. Okay? There's no way to hire good people if there's a PhD program somewhere and there is a 3-course teaching and we give them 4 courses teaching and no PhD program. It's impossible, right? So we got 3, and as soon as you got 3, you have 1/3 capacity to hire more people, right? Because everybody is teaching 4, now they have to teach 3. So where is that 4th course coming from? Somebody has to come. So that was another reason why we got a capacity of people that we could hire. Okay, so that's kind of some of the factors that I mentioned to you. Please ask questions anytime because it is.
Is there any incentive to recruit a new member?
Any what?
Incentives. Or higher salary or?
Yeah, absolutely. First, we give a competitive salary, which means our salary is not any different from the salary that you get for anybody.
Because you are state university.
Yes, there is no other way. So we give same salary as you would get if NYU hires you. But NYU is very expensive.
Right.
New York City is very expensive. Stanford is very expensive. We give the same salary and our dollar goes a long way. Right? Everything is equal. And the second thing, we start creating a group of people and we mentor them. You know, we were senior people. We do a good job on mentoring. And also, how do I say, connections. It is important to have connections. So I give you some examples of how we hire. This is a good question because anecdotes are exactly what I'm going to tell you. Okay, so hold on to that. Okay. Okay. So you can see, I'm now at the high level here. So you see, that guy was my postdoc at Toronto. He made his name in scheduling, and I asked him to move. So he moved. And only a few years ago, he was headhunted by Texas A&M, gave him a much higher salary, so he left us.
I graduated from Texas A&M.
Yes, Texas A&M, he went there. He didn't want to go, but he said that they gave higher salary. He went to my dean, he said, Texas A&M gave me this salary. My dean probably said, you're not worth that much. And you know, you never, the guy was not very diplomatic when you ask. Okay, I shouldn't say it, because somebody will tell you what this about that. But all I'm saying is this. If you don't want to move to another place, don't go to the dean and say, I got that salary. Go to the dean and say, you know, I want to stay here. I got an offer. Can you do something for me? And then they can give you something. Not like, this is what I got, and then you are expecting him to match the salary. And if you say no, then you draw yourself in the corner, and that's it. Finished, right? You know Guy Yu. Anybody know Guy Yu? Guy Yu made $1 billion in China. He was a professor at UT Austin. Then he moved to, he started some company, sold that company, went to Amazon and whatever, and he went to China and developed an online supermarket. Yugang is his name, whatever it is. And he was at UT Austin, and he got a chair professor appointment to a Northeastern school. He calls me, but I'm not so far from that. He called me, he said, I got an appointment, a chair professor, I don't want to move. So I said, you have a company, you made $50 million with that company, airline scheduling company, you don't need money. You go to the dean and say, I got a chair appointment and I don't want to move. Could you at least consider giving me a chair? 2 days later he calls me and said, yeah, I got a chair. So there's a way to deal with this, okay? It's not like, put yourself in the corner, okay, this is. For me, yeah, by my former student at the University of Toronto, he was actually literally my first student. He was in Hong Kong, a Chinese group. I asked him to move, so he moved. He went back to Hong Kong because he had some grants in our company. He was actually here on the 5th of January. He came to see me as well. And so he became the dean at CTU for 10 years. And now he's running a fintech company in Hong Kong. And the fintech company is owned by CTU. Maybe 50% by CTU, 50% by government. I don't know all the details, but he's the CEO of that company. So his 50% job is the CEO, the 50% job is the professor at CTU. He's employed by CTU for now. And so he was another guy we hired, and he had to go back to Hong Kong. And then he ended up staying there. The SARS came, and somebody gave him an apartment for $200,000. Now it's $1 million apartment in Hong Kong. Anyway, so that's I'm talking about US dollars. We had a guy in IE department. But IE department sometimes are not easy for business school to hire them because they don't know marketing and finance and some of the courses, but we hired an IE guy. And we hired Alain, who, by the way, I'm sorry to say that he passed away a few months ago at a very early age. He was absolutely one of the fantastic persons in terms of research. And when I asked him to move, because I'm a Carnegie Mellon person, and I asked him to come, and his professor and my professor as well, not my PhD professor, but Egan Ballas is a big name, was a big name in terms of programming. And Egan Ballas, I wrote Egan to see if there are people, and he gave my advertisement to Milan, and he said, you go there. So Milan goes back to him saying, Professor Ballas, UT Dallas is not even AACSB rated. We did not have AACSB yet. You know, Egan tells him, just go there, Suresh Sethi will take care of you. And he came to interview and he accepted right away. And he was one of the, how do I say, one of the other things that when I was hired, I don't like any administrative position. I don't like to be a head of the department. I don't like to be the dean. I don't want it, okay? So my dean promised me not to give me any administrative duty whatsoever. And to this day, I don't do that. And so he comes to me, he said, we want a head of the department. I said, get this guy. So he became the head of the department. And he was one of the best head of the department. I think I couldn't have done that job. So he was one of the, now there'll be a legal conference in his honor at UTD, I think in February or something. And we really miss him. And we had Kathy Stead, who was from the University of Michigan. She was an associate professor there. And so we were able to move her at that time. So these were some of the early hires that we did. So you see some connections, some recognition, some persuasion allows us to hire some good people. There's only one Chinese here, right? Later on there are many, because there is a big group of Chinese people and also Indian people graduating in American universities. But American universities, American universities don't have many American PhD students because they get good jobs right after their MBA or MS or whatever. So they don't think it's a good idea to work for 5 years and get a PhD. So the PhD programs are full of Indians and Chinese and Turkish and Europeans and you name it, okay? So, I already gave you the story of Alain. A very highly productive researchers. We made him a distinguished professor, chair professor. He became the head of the department, and she said he passed away this year, bless his soul. And so this is one of the anecdotes that I gave you. Here's another anecdote. Professor Bensoussan is a world-renowned expert in stochastic control, and he is a distinguished mathematician, not a business school professor. So what happens? I read a paper with him in 1980. I wrote a paper with him in 1980. He gave me one of the top control journals in 1980. I can tell you more about this story, but let me first tell about the story in my slides. So, France, 65, you must retire. So his email, and he doesn't want to tell me the last part of the email, but I will tell you. He said, I'm grandfather. I'm empty nester. France doesn't want me anymore. But he's not saying France doesn't want me anymore. He's saying, I cannot be working in France anymore because they will retire me. And I need a new challenge. This is the email, exact email that I'm putting you. And he doesn't want the last line. I changed the last line in my article. So what else? I think he was a math professor. So it would be a good idea for me to have half of us in the math department. So I go to the math dean and I said, Dean, do you want this guy half? He looks at his CV, he says he's a great guy, but we can give him status appointment. You know what a status appointment is? You can list the name in the department but no salary. I didn't tell him, but I told in my own, you can tell him if you want to. But the dean is no longer math dean anymore, and I don't even know who he is now. But in my mind, I said, this guy is better than the entire department of yours. I need $1, not status. He give you the status. So, $1, and one time we were, you know, I have a seminar. There is another leader of this strategy that I will tell you later. In that seminar, we had Jim Bean, who was a provost at one of the universities in California. He's also an Infos fellow. He was the president of Infos at one time or another. He was a former professor at the University of Michigan, IE department in the University of Michigan. And he was a seminar speaker. And when a dean level people come to seminar in my seminar, I invite my dean to join us for dinner. So that way, my dean, me, and I was babysitting my little girl that day because something else was going on, so I brought my girl there in a Thai restaurant called Mango in Dallas area. And since Dean and my family know each other, Dean asked my daughter, how are you doing? She says, fine, and she's busy eating. And we are eating, enjoying the food. We had a bottle of wine and a second bottle of wine. And then I told Hasan Dean, I said, listen, math department is dragging its feet. So you're not getting any money from them. He said, do you want that guy full-time in your department? I said, yes. He said, he's hired. So we hired this guy in a Thai restaurant. We already had one position. We already filled that position. The second position was there, but our dean would figure out how to get the second position. He would go to the provost, figure out that's his job, not my job. At the end of the dinner, I sent an email to Bensoussan. I said, you are hired. Please email my dean to discuss your salary, because I don't do the salary. And then he discussed the salary. I just want to say that my dean is a little bit of a Turkish carpet salesman. You know, he's come from Turkey. And he figured this guy is a math guy, the math department salaries are low. So he gave him a low salary. And of course, he will accept whatever the salary it is. But he was considered to be one of the best hires, a member of the National Academy of France. He was honored in Germany. He was a professor at Dauphine, the University of Paris 10. He was president of INRIA, which is a famous lab in France, which has like 5,000 researchers working. And after that, he was president of the European Space Agency. All of this. So now they think he was a great hire, so they're trying to increase the salary every year to make up for all the loss. But it's not easy to increase the salary once you join. You have to make case every year. So, but we are making the case. He's a chair professor now. He's 85 right now. He's 85 years old right now. As you can see, Metroplex retired in fact 2003. And it's an opportunistic hire. You know why it's an opportunistic hire? Because you cannot get this kind of person just like that. And our field is quite mathematical. And the amount of math is only increasing, not decreasing. You know, right now we have lots of new things coming in, AI, all of this, machine learning. There's a lot of math involved in it, okay? And so I said, okay, the guy is one of the top 5 stochastic control in the world, okay? You need a guy next door, and if there's a problem, which is a mathematical problem, you need one person to ask you. We go to ask him, he says, okay, here's a math problem. What do you think? He will say, this problem has already been solved. That's a great thing to have. People know it's already solved. He can say, this problem has been worked on by many, many people, and it is still an open problem. And it's probably not a good idea for a PhD student to take that as a thesis topic, right? Or this problem is doable. All of these answers are available next door. Sometimes you need a lot of people to figure out these answers. One of the great jobs of an advisor to a PhD student is not to spoon feed him, but tell him what topics the guy comes to you and say, okay, this problem is easy. No good. Or this problem is too difficult. No, find another problem. This is important advice to a PhD student, you know, and that is something this guy can give, not to PhD student, but for people like me who wants to go, why am I moving here? So here it is. He just became an IEEE gold medalist. He was in Italy just a few weeks ago. He was honored by that. In order to have such a guy, I did one more thing. He's a guy who was a stochastic guy. He developed risk kind of stuff. So I set up a center, International Center for Risk and Decision Analysis. I actually set up a center for him to direct. So when he came in, he has a ready-made center to direct. So he became the director of the center. You don't bring in a guy like this and just ask him to stay in the basement and do things. Okay, so you need to provide a proper forum. So here's a good example. And now he's a large chair, still going strong. I can say more things about this guy and my interaction with him. Maybe I will say at least one more thing. 1980. I knew him first academically anyway, but I first time met him in a conference in Tel Aviv, I believe in 1973. And there was a backbencher sitting there, I said over him. And in 1980, or 79 or 80, I invited him to Toronto. I was working on a problem, and we published the paper, but there was one part of the paper that was open, and I did not know how to solve it. So I said, why don't you come and look at this problem? So he comes to Toronto. We spent a week. In a day or two, the problem is solved. And then we need a guy who do some computation. Neither he nor I can do any computations. We never learned these things. So we found a math professor at the University of Toronto who can do computations. He's PhD from Caltech. I asked Dick Dursko to join us. So 3 and then one more person from Waterloo. 4 of us finished the paper before he left. And I said to him, let's send him to Science Control. He said, Simon, no, this is easy, they're not going to accept it. People like you and me, we can solve the problem. I said, they can solve the problem if they knew what the problem is. But somebody has to give them the problem, and I'm giving you the problem. They don't know the problem. So let's send it to Simon Control. He said, no, you're not going to accept it. It is one paper that I sent to Siam Control that comes back a month or so later saying, this paper is accepted, no reviews required. I have one paper in the top journal that requires no reviews whatsoever. And here's a guy whose standard is so high, he thinks this paper is not worth it. That's how it is, okay? So that's my another anecdote for you. There is a guy, another one, Shouqiang one, and he was a professor at Clemson. Clemson is not a university you want to be if this guy is one of the top guys in mechanism design, asymmetric information. A PhD in economics and business from Duke. And I thought this was a great guy to hire, so I asked him to interview us. He interviewed us, and I think we liked him. The next day, he sent me an email saying he got an offer from Shouqiang, and the offer dies in 2 days. So I want to hire him. So I went to the dean. I said, pick up the phone, please, and make him an offer. I was in the dean's office. I don't need permission to go to the dean's office. I just want to. All these 24 years, I never, I will tell you another story on that. So what happened? He picks up the phone, he makes an offer, Shouqiang accepts the offer right on the phone, and Arvana said it is out of luck. That's how we hire this guy. Fast on the feet. You have to be fast on the feet. You can't spend 1 month trying to meet the provost. The provost who is sitting out somewhere and taking his free time, and you lose people like that. You can't do that. I'm sorry, but that's how it is. So, I give you. He's a great guy, very productive. We gave him a tenure. Now he's still a social professor, but probably become a full professor very, very soon. So here's another guy. Elena. Elena was at Penn State, one of the big researchers in behavioral operations management. Sent me an email saying, Penn State is not treating me very well. And while they're treating me very well, my salary is very low. Then I gave me good salary. But I want to contribute to you. So I looked at the CV, I said, yeah, we need somebody like her. And so I go to the dean and I said, okay, we're going to hire her. And I told her in advance that we'll give you a salary which is competitive, but don't do the following. Here's what people do sometimes. They get an offer from this school, and the offer is higher than the salary they want. They go back to their school and say, I got this offer, can you match it? I said, our dean doesn't like this. So if you're interested in moving us, we'll give you a competitive salary. If you don't like the salary, you talk to me. I will talk to the dean. But you don't go. Because if you go, it will become, he will, okay. The dean here, the dean should know here. My view of the dean is they have a line. And these are the good people, and these are the bad people. Okay? If you're good people, and you made a bad negotiation and bad deal with the dean, you move to this side. And once you move to this side, you never come back. It's finished. So, don't bargain for little things. The little things don't give you anything. It only make you to the other side. So I told her all of this. She said, no. She calls me and said, Penn State is making it very difficult for me to move because they might take the salary. I said, you want to move, and if your salary is good, if the match salary is good, then you move. She said, no, I was just telling you, I wasn't negotiating with Penn State. I'm going to move anyway. So now what happens? She has a husband who's very well game theorist. So the dean comes to me and saying, do you want the husband? I said, yeah. So we get the husband. And he has written papers with the Nobel laureate, Alain. And so one of my professors in our group said that it's not a good idea to have two people in the same group, husband and wife. I don't think it is a bad idea, but I said, okay, we'll get him in economics. So I go to the economics group, I said, do you want to hire this guy? But they have a position. They said, so I said, look at the CV. They look at the CV, and Stan Lemovich, who's the area coordinator of economics, comes to my office. He said, you know, Suresh, I want to hire this guy, but I don't want to lose my position. Cannibalize the position. No, I don't want to cannibalize it. I said, no, you're getting a freebie. You get your position, you get one more. He said, in that case, I want it. But I told him, you can have him, but please have one person game theory taught for us. So that's how we hired him in the economics group. He's teaching game theory course for us in operations management. So we got Elena Kotak and Annabelle. So that's another story of how we hired. She hired me, actually gave her a chair right away because she was very well known. And she became one of the departments of management science. Anyway, so this is originally from Russia. There is a very good math background as well. So this is another hire. So I gave you several examples. I hope I answered some of your questions. It's not something that is easy to repeat, but it is something that you can still try.
Yeah. I think luckily your dean is quite supportive.
The dean is a part of the story. If you look at my article, it's going to come soon. The dean part is going to come soon. So it slides out like this, okay? So, we already gave you this. Critical mass, design the set of basic courses, we did all this. It's fantastic. Okay. So now, PhD students. How do we get good PhD students? Well, one way to do it is, Chelya Sitchenraja, who was my postdoc, I asked him to move. He said, well, he has two PhD students. One is Subodha, Kumar, one is Shouqiang. I said, bring them both. So they come. Subodha Kumar is one of our best PhD students. He is now deputy manager of POM. He is, I think, the past president of POM, I think. There are more stories related to him that are something that maybe time will not allow me to tell us. But he eventually got hired at Texas A&M, and he was so successful, he's our PhD student, that Temple University gave him a huge salary and made him a director and full professor and all of that. So he's now at Temple University. He graduated in 2003. He's our first graduate from Toronto, not from Toronto, from UTD campus. First graduate of our PhD program, and also one of the best. And then we started assistant. Why did I move to Texas? And I'm currently Anderson Distinguished Chair Professor of Statistics, Data Science at Fox Business School at Temple University. He's also a founding director of Center for Business Analytics and Technology, Constitutional Director of PhD Program for OMSCM at Temple University. A lot of different positions, and the President of Professional Management Society in 2004. So one of our students who came along with another professor. So this is one way we got some PhD students, okay? Now comes to the factors leading to growth. You said that, right? Leadership and food supportability. My seminar, I tell more about this. A robust PhD program, competitive compensation to faculty, competitive, generous research and travel support, competitive teaching load, and collegial environment. These are some of the things that are attractiveness to the school. Leadership. Our dean, as I already told you, he came to build the school. And not so much interested in negotiating his salary, as I mentioned to you. Is that the right clock? It is,
Yes.
it is right. So I got some time, right?
Right, yes.
So at one time, he asked the university. See, university has a system called zero-based budgeting. That means all the money the business schools bring in goes to the university, and the university then assigns you something. That means everything owned by them, and then they do something. Our dean told them, give us X% of what we make. X can be negotiated, but X cannot be zero. And the university didn't want it. The university didn't want it, so this guy can't negotiate his salary. He just wants part of the money to come directly to business school and not go there and then decide how much you get. So he got offered from Champaign, from Maryland as a dean. And they increased his salary. So the university people thought he's only trying to get salary. So they matched his salary. And they matched his salary. He said, no, I wasn't asking for my salary. I want X%. And so we all went to have a conversation with the provost. And we said that we want this thing to continue. So eventually they agreed. But he cannot take back the salary. When I got hired, he said that my salary was higher than him. Because mine is a 9-month salary. Administrative people are 12-month salary. So if you take 9 months salary and his salary multiply by 9 divided by 12 is lower than mine. But after he got the Maryland or whatever, his salary is now probably the number 2 or number 3 salary in the university after the provost or president or whatever. I'm not catching up with his salary anymore. But I'm just giving you the story. You need a dean who is there to develop the program and not there just for money. If you want money, go to a company. Start a company. Do whatever you want. Academia is not there to make money. You can be somewhat, but it's not going to be billionaire. How many professors are billionaires? I don't know any. But they are very well known. Some of them are Nobel laureates, still don't have $1 billion. So it's a different environment. And you need to know this environment. You need to live that environment. And that's where, anyway, so what happened? So I tell him, when I got hired, I tell him that I'm not a formal person. I'm a very informal guy. So if you want to see me, you can come to my office. Don't have a previous dean in Toronto, Max Clarkson, who said, Professor Sethi, I didn't want to see you. I have to go to his office. Why do I have to go to his office? He come to see me. My reputation is now less than him. I have a prima donna too. Who are you? So I told the dean, let's do the following. Let's have a lunch every 2 weeks, you and me. That way, all the problems that we need to discuss can be done at lunch. In the beginning, he was paying for the lunch. I said, if you're paying for the lunch, then let's have it every week. Why every 2 weeks? So finally we agreed to have 2 weeks, and finally we agreed that he should not pay, because maybe he was charging the university, but it's not a good idea to charge the university if you're having it every 2 weeks. So I said, you pay some, I pay some. Maybe if I get 24 years of average, I have a feeling he pays 60%, I pay 40%. But he always drives. I don't drive. So we go to, and I drive, but I don't drive to the restaurant. We always go to his house. So I've been doing this for 24 years. So I don't really need to, when I need to go to his office, I'll go to his office. If he wants to go to my office, it's very good relationship. I can call him at his home midnight. I have done that before. In case I need to make an offer next day, I will call him at home and I say, okay, we need this. We need it in a rush, okay? So do this. His wife will say, oh, Suresh wants Steve to talk to you. He picks up the phone. So it's a good relationship. You need a good relationship dean to be able to do all of those things. You need to be fast on your feet. You don't want to write to the dean and wait for 2 weeks. No, that's not a dean leadership. The dean has to be responsive. The dean is my representative to the university. He's not my boss. The dean is not my boss. He represents me to the university. That's all he is. I mean, he does control some salary, this, but that's minor. You know what my dean tells me? He said, I'm a tough guy because I don't want money. He said, if you wanted money, I can control you. But because I'm not greedy, he cannot control me. He said, this is his problem, he cannot control me. So this is his way of telling me. It's a good way of telling me, but it's actually complimenting me, but in a way, you understand what it is. Right? For example, the summer course. Our school, you can teach a summer course if you want extra money. So we get nominal salary. And the summer course salary is tied up with your salary. Like 1/6 or 1/9 of your salary, which is a big amount. And he can teach outside people from company, they teach summer course for $5,000–6,000. I would probably take $30,000–$40,000. I am never going to him to teach a summer course. If I ask him, he will have to give it to me. But I don't. So anyway, this is our relationship and it works very well. So I told you, you need a leader's the dean, but you also need an approachable dean. Not somebody who's high in the sky and think he's above all of you. It doesn't work. Academia, it doesn't work. In businesses it works. Academia, the dean is not your boss. You know? So, I negotiated a seminar. So I said, I will have a seminar. The seminar would be, I bring in people. I bring in the best people in our field every 2 weeks. And he said, okay, we'll give you $10,000 budget. I don't even know what that meant because I have never had any problem with this. I've been bringing people every 2 weeks to my university and I have nobody ever told me that the budget is run out. Okay, so I actually don't even know if there is a budget. But it is, as far as I'm concerned, okay? They never told me I cannot bring this guy because the budget is finished. And I bring in whoever I want, and I have a lot of connections. In the beginning, I needed those people to come in to see us. And I think it is very important to have a regular seminar for a number of reasons. First, you bring in a big guys who talk about what they're doing. What are the interesting topics? So your students get to know what is going on. Secondly, they come to here. They are our captive audience. They come on Thursday, we take them out to dinner, then we bring them, we send somebody to have a breakfast, then we pick them up to come to the office, do the seminar, somebody takes them to lunch. Sometimes they want to stay another day, so fine, no problem. We just have another dinner on Friday, then Saturday they stay, we have 2 nights of hotel. Generally speaking, 1 or 2 nights, but it's up to them. We never say no to their requests. And so the students get to see them. And you know what happens in many places? People go to conferences and they never try to see other people. I see Finland people come to Finland to conferences. There are 4 people in Finland. Each time you see these 4 people are together. They go to dinner together. I said to these guys, you see them all the time in Finland. Why don't you meet another guy from Taiwan or somebody from the United States? It's because they don't know many people. They're shy. And our students get to know lots and lots of people during this seminar. When they go to the conference, they can say, oh, Professor, you came to our school. I saw you. How are you? Hello. It's connection that matter. Connections are so important. Personal connections are so important. It's something that I cannot overemphasize. And I tell you what, it's an example you don't want to hear, but I've been going to China before the pandemic 5 times a year. And I have many postdocs and former co-authors in China. Now I'm not going because of some other reason, because Texas government doesn't want us to go. But that's another story. The reason I'm saying is this. I am 50 years in academia, and I have gone so many times to China because they want these personal connections. Talk about India. In my entire 50 years, the Indians have given me a round trip twice. Twice. China has given me business class round trips many, many times. Economically round trip, I go anywhere. My question is this. You know what they say? They say, well, you have a grandmother, you're going to see her anyway. And I tell them, how many sick grandmothers do you need to build the school? How many? You need to treat them, you need to bring them, and you need to make connections. And okay, we can read your paper, it's available on the internet, we don't need to see it. There's a word, because your papers are going to be submitted. Someday you're going to find a cut release. Our students get a job market. When they get a job market, eventually they go to tenure. 6 years after a PhD student graduates, they don't know big people. And if 6 years after some school wants a letter from top schools, how are you getting this? How are you getting 10 letters from top schools? You don't know them. And if you just write them, and they don't know anything about what you did, do you think they're going to accept it? They're going to say no, because they don't have time to read all your papers, and then write a letter, and then send it to you. You need connections. And your advisor needs connections. If my student goes out and have a tenure, guess what? First of all, they know many people. They call me, Professor Sethi, I want this guy, can you talk to this guy to write a letter for me? And I can only do that because I know them. I cannot know them because I read their paper as a freebie. So you need a regular seminar of people coming in. And they know our school, they see what's going on, and they go back and they say, hey, UTD is a great place. That's another success of our hiring. Because we brought lots of people. And now Elena came. She has another seminar, Monday seminar, I'm on Friday seminar. She has weekly seminar, she offers lunch. So we have, every 2 weeks, we have 3 people coming from anywhere in the world to give seminar. And we pay for everything for them. And we get 3 people every 2 weeks. Where can you get that environment? And now we have so many faculty members. One of the largest schools in the country. 5 graduate students, PhD students every year. 24 faculty members, 2 more coming in. Which OM department in the country has that many faculty members? None. Warden doesn't have that many. So, all of that requires some bringing. But I'm just telling you, these are some of the factors that allowed us to build this school. And there are other factors. I gave you all of that, so I already talked about it. But there are other factors which are, now I already told the leadership and full support of being my own seminar. These are factors which are not our factors, but they are factors because we happen to be someplace. There are some low cost of living. We have no stake in city taxes, so we advertise them. We have first class airport. A lot of people from China come to us because there's a direct flight to Shanghai. They can go home. India, there are flights directly to also to at least one stop. You can do that. Mild weather. It's mild weather, but not in summer. But who professor lives? I'm never in the summer in the office. I'm somewhere else. I'm here, there. So summer is the place you want to leave. And summer is the place you don't get a salary. You get 9 months salary, summer we go. So I'm hardly, Toronto is the other way around. Summer is the best time. Winter is not good. So winter you are in Toronto, summer is the best time, is summer you are not here. So Toronto weather is no good for academia, but Dallas weather is very good for academia. So that is, we emphasize. And more than that, all the interviews are happening in December and January. We just hired one person from MIT this year. He's already 3-4 papers. And another one is going to be hired. And we are interviewing in January when I go back. Not that I'm needed, I'm just a member of the committee. But when people come from Northeast, they're snowing there, they come to Dallas, all of a sudden it's very nice, they interview, they say, what am I doing in that place? It's a good place. And they go, well, summer is hard. I said, summer, you don't have to be here. So all of these are factors that are important. If you don't have it, I just want to say this. You can do whatever you want. Topeka, Kansas is not a good place to build a school. There's no airport, there's no nothing. So you need a place where some things are already possible. So these are, there's a tremendous growth, economic growth locally right now. Our school is, my dean said that our school alone has generated at least $2 to $3 billion economy right into Babylon. And there's a telecom corridor. People are moving from California right now to the US because California has a very high cost of living. And right now there are fires and stuff. I don't know how is that going to happen. I'm sorry, but California is having a difficult time. Okay, so we can compete with people going to Stanford even because they cannot buy a house. Our professors have bought a house within the first year. Anya Chi, my colleague, who came here within a year, he bought a house. He paid up $300,000. Now this house is about $800,000. He bought in the first year before tenure. And our salary level right now is, okay, we give around $200,000 salary for 9 months. And we give $15,000 or so for travel money in this. And also, if you run out of travel money and you go to the dean and say, no, I ran out of travel money, and if you go to a really good conference, he will give you. We will never say no. But he will want to know where you're going. So nobody is complaining about travel money. And we give 2 nights salary in the summer, but that's guaranteed for 5 years. So first 5 years, we're giving you $240,000 salary for 11 months, and we're giving you $15,000 travel money. So your package is substantial. And the houses in those days, Anya bought a house for $300,000. His salary was already $240,000. He almost bought a house in 1 year of your gross salary. Where else can you buy a house in 1 or 2 years of your gross salary? How many years of salary you guys need for you to buy a house in Taiwan? 30? 30 versus 2? Right? It's not easy to think this, but it is something we tell the people and then they see what's going on. Okay? So all of these are factors that are okay. I got 10 minutes. I don't think I will go into the other part. This is the part that is. So, Annabelle, graduated in 2006. She was one of my best students. Subodha Kumar was also my student, but I was also coordinating him. I was a full advisor to her. She joined UTD as an assistant professor. Currently, she's John Donna Kennedy Chair in Office by Purdue University. She's a Brown Fellow, member of Seven Editorial Board. A very, very bright lady. He's now also was a DE in research one time or another. Anyway, so this is one of our students. So I have more examples, but anyway, this is. So let me just conclude. We made a rapid growth that incorporates a top-notch PhD program right now, and we now are able to recruit world-class faculty. We have a consistent vision, build research first as a rank, as a top school, and then expand horizon with other streams in the business school. So first, build where you can, and then that will filter out and diffuse into other areas that you want to do. A strategic outlook, competitive companies, the best faculty, and competitive teaching law and designing core courses. So those were some of the things that I mentioned to you. I will not say anything more about my personal journey. It is a video that Julian is going to still give to me. Professor Liu, you have to give me that video. Okay, so I'm open to questions.
But when I'm considering the grammar of the school in Paris, I'm just thinking that in the beginning, how much budget the university is intended to
I think that my understanding is that it was probably about $2 million to the beginning that he negotiated. I don't know the exact number, but that was 1997. So even if it was 1 million, it would still be quite large. But that's, I don't know exactly the number that negotiated.
But because at that time, I think, for example, Dallas is a very big city, and also the industry-wise, in Texas actually is very various and very prosperous too. And I think to host a B school, a successful B school in Dallas probably is not that difficult.
Well, it was not difficult, it wasn't there.
Right.
It wasn't there. Let me give you a little bit of history on that. University of Texas, Dallas is a university that was the vision of the founders. There were 3 founders who basically were the founders of the semiconductor. So they started, Dallas needs a university.
Right.
So they put the lab. There was a semiconductor lab, 3 buildings, they put that into a university. So the university just got founded that way in 1969. And it was a university that only took PhD students, nothing undergraduate, no graduate, just PhD students. So started a few PhD students, that was the university. And then 10 years later, they added a master's program. And the undergraduate program only came about 1975 or so. So it was very legal university. The business school was nothing, and it wasn't going anywhere. I don't think that without the dean and without what we did, that this school would have gone anywhere for some time.
Yeah,
so it's not like Dallas would do this automatically.
Right. I agree with that. Yeah.
But you're right.
That's very critical. He is the very critical person. You too. Yeah.
What you're right about is that Dallas, being in Dallas helped us. And that I'm not discounting. I'm not discounting at all. These are Dallas factors. That's why I'm saying Topeka, Kansas will not be able to do this. They can do the previous one, but they cannot do this. This is Boston can do it, San Francisco can do it, Dallas can do it. These are some cities you can do it. But they were already in the universities there. Dallas, only Austin had the university. Austin doesn't have the airport. We are way better business school than Austin Business School now. UT Austin doesn't have a business school like ours. I say it right now, you can tell them if they want. You can argue with me. But we are better people than they are. They may not agree with us, but that's what we are. So yes, you're right. The geographical factors do matter. The growth factors do matter. But Taichung is not exactly a small place. I mean, it has an airport too. Not far from this. You have everything except cost of living there.
But another question is, how do you, in the beginning, and how do you get the recognitions from the industries?
No, we didn't get any. No, industry people still go to MIT for contract jobs. We are an academic place. We build the name in academia. One day maybe we will not go to MIT, but industry still go to MIT.
Right, but I mean, when you are recruiting those MBA students and coming to your programs, and how do you persuade them to?
No, we the MBA students get jobs. It doesn't have to. They get jobs everywhere. We have a good program now. Our MBA program is very good. We have an MBA program in healthcare. The doctors take those courses. We have quite a few initiatives. I don't know so much how to talk about it. But my job is to tell you what I'm responsible for. And I was part of this thing. But I do mean that there are many things that we did, Taiwan is not doing it.
Exactly.
So you can do things.
We have a lot already, you know. There's no negotiation way for the salary and the.
No, how many people do you bring in a seminar? We bring 3 every 2 weeks. How many do you bring? You cannot bring people, and you cannot tell them by phone saying they are good. You bring them and you treat them and you go out with them and you break with them, then you make it. You can't just, it's not cheap. It is what it is. But you need to do it. Otherwise you just sit here. It's up to you. Yes?
I have one question that initially that when the university tried to develop and the team support all of this program, all of that what you're trying to do. So that how, do you know that how did the team that persuade the president to provide the financial support to?
Because they couldn't find any need for a while. You know, they approached Bill Cooper, who was a big guy in our field, was the founder of data enrollment analysis. He came as a dean. They had Alain, who was a professor in Chicago, a good friend of mine. He went there and he said, Suresh, I cannot go there because they gave me half my salary at Northwestern. I said, Bala, you don't negotiate your salary. If you want to build a school, you have to go there. He was a professor in accounting in Northwestern. So I gave you an example. Suppose an Indian business school wants to come and build a school. You want your salary in India? You either go there or you don't go there. But if you want to build an Indian school, you go there and build the school. But don't insist that you give them a Chicago salary there. No business school will give you that. So, there are people who did not move because their salary was lower as a dean. The dean's salary was lower than the professor's salary. But our dean, they found finally this guy, they were lucky. And I think his salary was probably at least a little bit higher than his Ohio State salary. You know, he was not Bala Chandran, who was a very famous accounting professor. His salary was one of the highest salary in the business schools. The only person they moved was Frank Bass. Frank Bass moved from Purdue to UT Dallas. And that was a big, big move. And we knew, I was a student at the time, or if not student, but a junior professor. We knew that he was offered the highest salary in the business schools, Frank Bass. And he created a marketing program there and graduated many marketing students. But they could not find his replacement. So UT Dallas was, you know, there was no campus, no nothing, no much faculty, evening program. You cannot build school like this. But our dean was successful, in at least the business school. I can only tell you that he had a vision, and he also had a fire in the belly to do something.
I was wondering, so it's like a follow-up question from Big Pong.
Yeah.
So to be able to gain industry recognition, is it popular or is it normal to have like industrial collaboration within the whole department?
Well, yes, there are people who are doing that, but here's the situation. Okay, engineering schools in the United States require grants, and these are National Science Foundation grants. They get this 2 nights salary from the grant. Okay, and if you don't get enough grant, you don't get a tenure. So that's the model of engineering schools. Business school, on the other hand, cannot do this because NSF is not science. They like science. They don't think business schools are science. So I know from University of Michigan, which is one of the great schools of business, Michigan Dean tells their professors, don't spend time to write proposals for NSF. So you spend so much time writing proposals, and outcome may be very little. We'll just give you the money in the summer. So their business is to build a school, and they have the money to give you. Why go to NSL? So I think you're right. I mean, it's a good idea. Some people are doing business, but business school is a portfolio. You don't need everybody to go to business. I don't do consulting business. I don't even want to go. Because I don't want to sell myself, and they don't come to me. End of the story. But there are other people, like Ozap, he has a business connection. I know he's at Amazon. And so we do have people who do this. And I think we need some of that. But not everybody needs that. And I don't think the recognition by business school is published anywhere in the United States. Do you know any university that they have a ranking, this is recognized by these business companies? No. Its ranking is done on basis of research. Financial Times, Business Week, UTD ranking, they're all done by this. And the other thing is, my own view is that sometimes we solve the problems and we derive solutions that business don't do right now. And our journals, some of our journals are now looking for examples from business. And they say business don't do this. And they don't want to publish that paper. But business should do that if they don't do it. Why are you saying the business has to do it? Is business always efficient? No. I can give you examples after examples where people have been rejected because business don't do it. But the business don't do it because they don't know how to do it. It's both ways. Sometimes you learn from business, sometimes from business. And so there are people in our field who look at operations field a long time ago. All the papers that were published in management science, but published on algorithms or linear programming, all this. Do you think they went to business to learn that? So I think if you want to put those emphasis on business, you will be writing some silly papers that will only be good for that business. It's not general enough. So there's a room for that, but there is room for other things which is not easy. So don't focus completely on that. But I don't know how Taiwan is.
Okay, I think it's about time, and probably we can have some, it's changed, and eating in lunch too. And you're right. Yeah, maybe we can get it.
But I do thank you very much for listening and inviting me.
Right.
And I appreciate
and
chance.
the combination of Professor Chen is going to it's a culture. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It'll be better if we step forward. Because the projector. That's good, that's good.
Wait. First slide.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, this. Okay.
Yeah, probably, how about that, that's, some of it. You can see,